Welcome back to Movies TV Man. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Man, and welcome to Wednesday's edition of the Doctor Who Daily. So, breaking yesterday, we got an announcement of a third title of an episode from Doctor Who Flux. This time, episode 3. Now, everyone was saying the BBC were being very, very secretive about this, and now we know why. Because Doctor Who Flux episode 3 will be titled Once Upon a Time. So what does that mean? What's the episode going to be about? Well, for me as a writer, I would call an episode this, from a continuing kind of, serialised, chapterised version of Doctor Who, kind of a detour episodes. This is when we kind of move away from what they're doing. So they'll probably have a big cliffhanger, which they won't continue from till episode 4. That's my prediction. What does Once Upon a Time mean? Well, it looks like Chibnall is going to go somewhere else and explain another situation. Now, I was re-watching the Halloween Apocalypse yesterday, and I must admit I enjoyed it a lot more the second time around. I still think it's rather messy. There's a lot of things going on, but it's actually very interesting if you take your time and focus on each thing that he's teasing and all the characters he's introducing. You do see some very interesting things. So we got the two guys, I think in the 1800s, and this guy is literally obsessed with building these tunnels under these mines or whatever he's doing, right? And these two guys are having this conversation, aren't they? And why are you doing this? I don't understand. He goes, if I told you what I was doing, it would blow your tiny mind up, or something like that. Now, I think this guy is either Tech Tae-yoon or the Doctor. So I think it's either them. Could it be a version of the Master? Who knows? I think it's definitely a Time Lord. But what Time Lord, I don't know. Could this be the founder of the Division building a secret base there? And because I think that's interesting. So we could basically spend an episode there with that character, which would be interesting because then we would find out a lot more about the Division. And I don't think the Division are the dark force that Chibnall is trying to kind of tell us they are. Because I don't think that's what the direction Chibnall is going with the Division. It depends how vast he's going with this Timeless Child storyline. It's very interesting. Now, if it's not that, we may see a whole episode based on the villain we were introduced to, and I forgot what he was called again. We saw him imprisoned at the beginning of the episode. We may find out his origins and, his past battles with the Doctor. Now, don't forget, this must be pre-Hartnell as well. Because I think, when we get to Hartnell's Doctor, his memory isn't being erased then. His memory's being erased pre-Hartnell. That's what I think. So the Doctor doesn't remember pre that regeneration what happened to him or her. And I think that's interesting. So, yeah. So why are the Division, and this is interesting, why are the Division wiping the Doctor's mind? So, yeah, I think it could be an introduction to that villain's backstory and his relationship with the Doctor. Whatever it is, I think it's a detour episode that's going to explain elements of this, Timeless Child arc, which actually I'm very excited about. It's interesting because I've been very, very critical of Doctor Who under Chris Chibnall. But despite the characterizations being non-existent and bland and season 11 being kind of really dull and boring to me, I still think season 12 started to take a little bit of life of its own, and I think the first episode of Flux was very interesting, and the Doctor does feel very doctory now, and I think a lot of people have said that. So anyway, for a brief time, let's ask the question, who are the Division? Why did they erase the Doctor's mind? So this is where I'm going with this. I believe the Division are rebel Gallifreyans. I believe they don't like the Time Lords. They don't like Time Lord society. They see them as frauds, and they're the rebellion. They're a resistance movement against the Time Lords. They know that they stole somebody's. They know they stole the Doctor's DNA genetic code to become what they become. You see, of course, Chibnall's been very political with this Timeless Child storyline, because in history you can go and think about countries who have invaded other countries and basically rebranded their countries with themselves. And this is what Chibnall's trying to do. This is what happened when the British Empire invaded the Americas and the natives were killed and everything else, right? And that country was taken over, and now it's an English-speaking country. This is what Chibnall's trying to do with this storyline. Now, some people are very offended by that, but it's interesting nonetheless. So despite me finding Chibnall's era a lot more blander than Moffat's or RTD's era, I am still very intrigued and excited about this Timeless Child thing. So yeah, I believe the Division are these rebels, these Gallifreyan rebels, and I think they rescued the Doctor from the Time Lords. That's what I think happened, and they decided to erase the Doctor's memory pre-Hartnell. So maybe they believed or wanted the Doctor to have a life of his or her own, and to go out there and explore. So maybe they erased the Doctor's memory. Maybe they wanted the Doctor to be a hero. I don't know. And never to know of his or her origins. So I don't think the Division is actually villainous. And I think they're separate from Tech-Tay-Yun and the rest of them. So this is, and I think Tech-Tay-Yun is the villain we saw imprisoned. That's the identity of that character. So what does that make the female that he freed when they went to the North or South Pole, wherever it was? I'm not sure about her. I don't know what it's all about. I also don't understand why she wants Dan's love interest, what that was all about as well. I think that's interesting. Is it because she's connected to Dan? Is Dan a Time Lord without knowing it? Has his memories been erased? Is Dan the real Doctor? Who knows? This is Doctor Who. Anything's possible. And that's why it's very interesting and intriguing to me. So there's no question about it. I think they're going to expand on the Timeless Child. I think Chibnall will expand on it, but he won't conclude it. I think he will conclude it in the trilogy next year, because this is his era. So why would he finish off the arc early unless he expands on it and takes it to a new exciting direction, which he plays with in the final 3 episodes? And also, we don't understand what's going on with Yaz. Does she survive this season? And is she involved in the following season? Well, it looks like it, because they were talking about Mandip and Jodie doing their final scenes. So that would say that Yaz is still involved. Now, what is unknown to us is, will Dan and Vinder be involved in next year's final 3 episodes of the Chibnall era? Well, we really haven't gotten to know Vinder yet, so it's difficult to know where he is, what kind of character he is. I did expect more of a kind of Captain Jack kind of, thing about him, but we didn't get that. I mean, obviously we want originality. We don't want the characters to copy other characters. I just wanted to see kind of a Han Solo type of character here. I just think that would have been interesting. So we'll see the dynamic he has with Yaz. Some people are saying he may be a love interest for Yaz. Imagine 13 and Yaz shippers. If that happened, they would go absolutely nuts. Then you'll know what it's like being the people who were offended by the Timeless Child storyline, right? Because you were a lot saying, what are you upset about? It's not a big deal. Well, when something you love is destroyed, like, the potential of Yaz and 13 being lovers at the end of the day, but maybe they have been lovers off screen. Because that bed's in the TARDIS. I mean, you can use a bed for sleeping on and shagging on. I don't know why that bed's there. I still don't know. Still trying to get it round in my head. It's not that important. I know. Yeah, so episode 3, Once Upon a Time, I think is definitely a detour episode that is going to explain something. I think this could be one of those great episodes. Because you may not actually see the modern day Doctor in it. It's an explanation episode, so it could be anything. It could explain anything. So I would be very excited about that episode if I were you, but we're not there yet. We've got this Sontaran War to look forward to. And again, Doctor Who looks brilliant under Chibnall. That's one thing I'll say about him. His production values are fantastic. The VFX is fantastic. I don't know what people's problems are with the Doctor Who VFX since Chibnall got there. I really like it, and I love the VFX in the Halloween Apocalypse. I thought it was great. I would like to know what you think though. What kind of episode do you think Once Upon a Time will be? Do you agree with me that it could explain the division and what was going on in the 1800s there? Or explain Dan's character? Who is Dan? Is he how he seems? Or has his mind been erased again? Remember, we don't really know who the division are. And I think part of this Timeless Child storyline is the mystery box of it, which I absolutely love. So, yes, I think episode 3 is going to be a fascinating episode. This has been the Doctor Who Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, subscribe, comment down below, hit the notification bell so you never miss this perfection. And I'll see you tomorrow with even more Doctor Who Daily. Until then, goodbye.